it was so strong that it's not something that I wish for anyone because it's not a good feeling.
Hmm.
It's not a good feeling at all. And so I started to
Hmm.
scream so loud at work, at the airport, right? Because I work at for the airline. Scream and cry so
Yeah.
loud that I need God, I need God. And then everybody's looking at me like,
Hmm.
you need who? I said, I need God. He said, what do you mean? Because you don't even know if you didn't even know that
Hmm.
you a believer
You're
because you
Christian.
never mentioned it.
Wow.
So, for instance, when I went, because I did try drugs as well, I did
Hmm.
not just sex, but I did alcohol and
Hmm.
drugs and everything else. So
Hmm.
those sort of joy with people say, "Oh, I'm very happy because I feel
Hmm.
happy," but it doesn't last, and that is why we
Hmm.
keep going back into it in order to
Right.
feel
Hmm.
that happiness.
Right. So, Jean Michel, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for
So,
having me.
to begin, all right, you're very welcome. At some point, you were in the church, you were raised in a Christian home, but then at some point, you kind of felt different. Can you tell us more about that? What was the process like for you?
Sure, that is something that I actually felt since I was a child.
Okay.
It's not something that came up afterwards, but since I
Mm.
was, I would say, 9, 10 year old, I could feel
Yeah.
that I am different, and I could see that I am different as well because
Mm.
the way they were talking to me, the way I was responding to them, the way I was behaving myself, everything was different
Mm-hmm.
about myself according
Yeah.
to what people would say because I wouldn't see me, but then I could feel it. I
Mm-hmm.
could feel that attraction was mostly towards girls, but not. It was just a friendly thing, but nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
with men, like boys, I would say. I wouldn't
Right.
play football. I wouldn't
Mm.
play, the boys
Mm.
playground. I wouldn't go there. So I would
Right.
see that I was different.
Mm.
But then
Mm.
arriving at teenage year old, I could
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel that I was attracted to men at
Mm.
the age of I would say
Wow.
14, 15. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Um,
interesting. And just
yeah.
for context, where was this?
It was in the Caribbean, Martinique.
Okay. All right. All right. Mm-hmm.
Um, I was born in Guadeloupe, but I grew up in Martinique.
Wow.
Yeah, and so at 14, 15, I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel that I was attracted to men. And I remember
Yeah.
I was looking mostly at when at the age that I was, we didn't have internet like today, right? So I was
Wow.
looking mostly at catalogs and books of men
Mm.
in underwear. I remember that,
Mm.
and discovering going to church,
Right.
discovering that this was not something that God's like. I would
Right.
pray, but not
Mm-hmm.
knowing
What
not
to do?
what to do or who to talk to.
Mm. Right.
It was not a prayer. It was not something like it was not an instant prayer because it's something that I
Right.
don't know of, although it's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
So I was praying, but nothing serious.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so why I left because my mother passed away,
Mm.
and she was kind of the one to support me spiritually.
Mm.
So because she passed away, I was 17. Then I decided to actually go to France, Paris, to carry
Mm-hmm.
on a life as an adult. But then
So
Paris
on
is
your
such a
own.
big city, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, on my own.
Hmm.
Paris is such a big city, so more temptation, of course, so more
Yeah.
occasions and more offers. And then this is
True
where I
that. Yeah.
decided to basically live that life because I could feel that I wasn't. Um,
Mm,
I at that time I felt like I didn't belong to church because I was singing at church
mm-hmm,
in the day, like Saturday, for example. I was singing Sabbath, and at night I
mm-hmm,
would go out clubbing at night.
mm,
So I said, no,
mm,
I can't do both. It's either or. So I'd rather leave
right.
church and then
Yeah.
live that life fully, which I did for
Mm-hmm.
25 years. Yeah.
Wow, it's a long time. And I was gonna ask, so in
Yeah.
the meantime, your family obviously realized and saw that you are a bit different, and I'm assuming majority of them was Christian. How did they respond to you? How did they treat you or respond to you, knowing who you were at that time?
You see, this is where I would say that I am blessed because I've always received support
Mm,
from my family. Um, no one would
wow.
say anything. No one would um, reject me.
Mm,
Nobody would say a word about the life
mm,
that I was living. Even when I
wow.
was as a teenager already, my mother wouldn't say anything at all. Or as an adult, my
Mm,
my sisters and brothers, they wouldn't say anything at all. They would keep saying, Jean-Michel, we love you, and just that.
mm,
Um, when I
wow.
was living from France, I moved to England, London, England, which is where I
Mm-hmm.
literally live that life fully. And one of my
Mm,
sisters, she used to come to visit me at home in London,
mm.
but I thought she was coming to see me, which I
Yeah.
discovered last year. I discovered it wasn't to see, it was she didn't come to see me. She was coming to pray. But I thought she was coming
Mm,
to see me
wow.
and to visit me and to show me her support and love. Because she was asking
Yeah.
me, specific questions like, whose these
Mm,
shoes are, whose this dress. I would say it's mine.
right.
She was like, okay.
Mm,
But then in the back, she would go, when she went back home, she would go
mm,
and present this to God and pray God in order to deliver
wow.
me. Because it's not something that's
That's
easy.
powerful.
Um, without,
No.
yes, without God, without Jesus
Hmm.
and the Holy Spirit, it's not easy at all.
It's
So,
not easy. That's so
yeah,
true.
I got the support from the family for 30 years. Yeah.
That's so powerful. That's a powerful testimony. And even your sister coming to you and praying for you, I think that's more than loving you, because praying for you means she cares for you. She loves you. So that's really amazing. Now, from this, what would you advise a family that has a child, let's say, that that is identifying differently, or saying that they feel different? What advice would you give to the parents or the guardians from your experience?
You see, there are in this process, there are different levels. So I'm not,
Right.
it depends to every level for everyone, but generally, I
Mm-hmm.
would say it is very important
Mm.
for us to be
Mm-hmm.
different, not to be judged.
Mm.
Because this is one of the reasons why I left church. That is because I was judged by the members of
Mm.
church.
Oh,
I
I
was
see.
singing then. I started to sing. I was 5 year old, 5, 6 year old in church.
Mm.
And then the way I was singing, for example, they would say, "Oh, your finger is going too high. It's too feminine," or your voice is too much like a
Mm.
woman, or even the walk. I was walking.
I
I was
see.
very feminine when I was a boy. I was a child. So they would say even your walk, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even when I walked down the street, they would send dogs behind me to bite me or throw stones at me,
Oh, that's
all
tough.
those things that I've been through.
That's
So
crazy.
it's very important
Huh.
for the family to support the child or the
Mm-hmm.
children, because it could be more than one, and to make
Yeah.
them feel that they are loved
Mm-hmm.
no matter what,
Right. That's
which is
powerful.
what we need. We need to
Mm-hmm.
feel the love from the parents, from the family. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. That's so true. Well, so in your experience, can you tell us what does a typical um is it okay to call it gay lifestyle, or how would you call it? Um Typical.
Yeah, I mean, we can say gay. The typical lifestyle, again, it
Mhm.
depends for everyone because I've
Right.
actually lived different levels of it. But
Mm.
you know, we could just be normal, dressed up normally as we are today. I mean, like right now,
Right.
and
Mhm.
I have some eye contact with people on the streets.
Mm.
This is one lifestyle. A
Mm.
second one would could be um, to dress as a woman
Mhm.
and walk down the street
Mm.
to look for, try to look for attention and love from whoever gives
Mm.
the answer back.
Mhm.
That's another level. And
Mm.
it could be also to work, which is another level, to work in gay clubs, like clubs. So
Mm.
um, in clubs, you can do all kinds of jobs. You can do drag shows. You can
Mm.
also work behind the bar as a gay person
Mhm.
and try to
Right.
get, attention and try to meet people as well.
Right. Right.
So there's all
Wow.
kinds of levels.
That's interesting. So you've went through all these levels, and so like, so what changed your mind exactly? What made you like do like an about turn, like 180 turn and change?
The first one, because all those levels I've been through,
Mhm.
it was, it's a process, right? It's not something that we go straight forward. So because it takes years to get there,
Right.
then it takes also all the process to go back to the original.
So you have to
um,
reverse, right?
yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I remember when I was in London, England, and
Mhm.
I was doing a drag show, and then I then realized with my friends that in order to work, to carry on working as a
Mhm.
performer in drag,
Right.
we would have to go for operation because
Hmm.
this was the I would say the fashion. The fashion was to, if in order to
Right.
work more, you would have to go for surgery and do
Mhm.
operation in order to really look like a woman. Then I started to think,
Mm.
I was 26. I started to think and I said, no,
Wow.
I don't feel, although
Mm.
I do dress up and do drag shows, but I don't feel myself living as a woman 24 hours, 24/7.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and thank God to put that in me because obviously it was
Wow.
from God putting this in me because nothing was done by
Right. It had
myself.
to be.
But then I felt like,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt like this wasn't really for me. So I went through depression. Depression
Mm.
because I thought, what am
Hmm.
I going to do for work? Because I've been doing this for years now. Um, I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. And
Mm.
first of all,
Mm.
we cannot create a CV and wrote, I used to work as a drag queen and I want to work in a as a secretary or or whatever administration. So I
Elsewhere,
was
right?
thinking about all those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about all those things, and then
Mm.
I went through depression, and then I started to
Mm.
deep inside. Although I wasn't praying, I wasn't in relationship with God, but inside started
Yeah.
to speak deeply and say, I need to get out of
Mm.
this because I'm going.
Mm.
It's not a strong depression, but I feel like I'm going down because I can't get
Yeah.
a job
Mhm.
because
Right.
I don't have operations, right? I didn't do surgery, so I can't not work
Mm.
anymore. But I want to sing. Obviously, I want to sing
Mm.
because the singing kept me going, although I was singing at home, but it kept me going. So I said, I
Mm.
want to sing again. I don't
Sing
know
in the
what I'm going to
shower.
do, how I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so God gave me the
Mm,
opportunity to find somebody that was a savior, because I got this
mm,
person right after the show, the drag show. Someone came and said to me, "Oh, the show was amazing."
mm,
So I answered, "Oh, thank you, but
mm,
that's not what I want to do."
mm,
He said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to sing." He said, "Oh, you can sing too?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, I
mm,
try to sing, but I would like to sing."
mm.
Then he said, "What do you
Right.
sing?" So at that time, I had
Mm,
studied opera, take singing lessons to sing
mm,
opera. So I told him I'm a opera singer. And then he said, "Oh, we're
mm.
looking for an opera singer in Canada." So I said,
Wow.
"Oh, okay, good. I have to get that job because I want to get out of this whole drag queen shows." I
Yeah.
want to get that job
Wow.
because this I really need to get out because I just can't anymore. So we said, "Okay, I'm going to call my friend and tell him that I found somebody." And this is how I got the job in Canada to sing as an
So that's how
opera.
you got to Canada, actually, right?
Yes, that's right.
Whoa. Whoa. What a
Yeah.
connection. Hmm.
And so I was really happy to get out of this old drag
Mm,
show thing. So I sang in Montreal for 3 years every night.
mm,
But then after 3 years, the place closed down and I
mm,
had no job. So
hmm,
I started again to do drag show.
mm. But now
But
in
then during
Canada.
that period of time, that's right. But then during that
Okay.
time, I
Wow.
said, I was saying to myself, I'm starting again, but not for too
Hmm.
long because I know I don't like it. I know I don't like it. I'm
Okay.
doing it because it's paying my
Yeah.
rent and my bills, but I don't like it.
Mm,
And
mm,
then
mm,
I started to study dance a little more, so classical ballet
hmm.
and jazz and so on, contemporary as well.
Wow.
And then I went into
Mm,
Brazilian dance, which I could already do because
mm,
I've done that in back in England. And then I dropped
mm,
the drag queen at one time because the place that I was working at was going to close. So I went home and I said, okay, I'm gonna
okay.
start doing some dance, but just dance, which I did. And then I flew to
Mm,
Brazil,
hmm.
and I was there for 5 years, and I just did carnival dance and everything. And
So what led you
but
to
God
Brazil?
was still well, because I wanted to study more about the Brazilian dance.
Okay, so
So
you
this is why I
loved the
went there.
dance, Brazilian dance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
And so on the last year of in Brazil,
mm-hmm,
the same thing
mm,
that I felt back in England, I felt it in Brazil, but in a
mm.
different way.
Came again.
I felt like
Okay.
this was the last time I was going to go to Brazil and do Brazilian dance, but not knowing what was going to happen after that.
Mm,
But deep inside, I could feel that
mm,
I was done with dancing. So
mm,
I left and I went back to Canada. And upon arrival, about a few days later after arrival, that is when
mm-hmm.
God literally showed himself to me through a friend of mine at work, because I used to work for Air Canada. And then so
Yeah.
during work, she mentioned a phrase that woke everything up. She mentioned
Before
to
the
me,
phrase, not to interrupt you.
yeah,
Yeah, before the phrase. So in Brazil, um, you were living with someone, right? In Brazil, before you
yes, in
thought this
Brazil,
would be
I
the last
was,
time.
yes, in Brazil, I was, yeah, in Brazil, I was living with someone because I got married
Mm-hmm.
with the man, with the guy there in Brazil, and so I was living with
Mm-hmm.
him, and then he could feel,
Mm,
well, he could see, actually, he could
mm-hmm.
see that I was going through a special moment. So he said to me, "You're
Like a
looking
struggle.
different."
Mm, Mm.
So I said, I mean, if you say I'm looking different, I do feel different actually because something is going on, but I don't know exactly what it is. And then so he
Right.
says to me, okay, well, let me know when you know, because if you don't know, I can't know, but I can see that something is very different with you. And then so when I went
Mm.
to Canada, this is where I got the phrase.
Mm. The phrase.
The
Tell us about the
phrase,
phrase. The life-changing phrase.
yes, yeah. This colleague of mine, she was her parents. They are very Christian, although they are not
Mm.
Seventh-day Adventists, but they do believe
Okay.
of the return of Jesus. And then she came
Okay.
up to me and said, it's the beginning of the pandemic and everything, and my mother is telling me all about the return of Jesus all the time. Do you think it's true? And that phrase,
Wow.
that phrase just woke
Wow.
everything that was sleeping inside of me. At the
Do you think
same
it's true?
time, I received,
Mm.
yeah, I received the image of the statue of Daniel with the
Daniel
rock
too.
coming towards it,
Mm.
Daniel too, yeah.
Wow.
That image came into my mind at the same time, and at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I was feeling inside that I
Yeah.
was actually literally dying, but from
Hmm.
inside. And
Wow.
it was so strong that it's not something that I wish for anyone because it's not a good feeling.
Hmm.
It's not a good feeling at all. And so I started to
Hmm.
scream so loud at work, at the airport, right? Because I work for the airline. Scream and cry so
Yeah.
loud that I need God, I need God. And then everybody's looking at me like,
Hmm.
you need who? I said, I need God. He said, what do you mean? Because you don't even know if you didn't even know that
Hmm.
you're a believer
You're
because
Christian.
you never mentioned it.
Believer,
Yeah,
right?
you're a Christian.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah. So I said, yeah, well, obviously I am because I need God right now. So I started to scream and scream and scream and scream. I just needed to get out of where I was. So then my colleague took me
Right.
at home and then called family and yeah, family and myself we put on the telephone
Mm.
and um, things just changed drastically, drastically. I wrote a letter to
Mm.
my
Mm.
friend in Brazil, say that I will have to stop this relationship because I feel the God is calling me. I have no
Mm.
clue exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm scared
Right.
because I don't know where I'm
Mm.
going. I'm going by faith, right? Because I don't know where it's going, but obviously it's gonna change.
Mm.
So I had to
Right.
change everything in big capital letters.
Mm.
I'd have to change my food
Everything.
because I was eating pork. I was eating
Mm.
pork and crabs and everything. I had
Hmm.
to change my clothing as well because I
So your
was
dress.
yeah,
Mm.
the clothing that I was wearing they're not very suitable as a Christian,
Mm.
and the shoes,
Mm.
even the language as well.
That's
I would have
interesting.
to change the language
Mm.
because the language changes as well. The vision, the way I see people,
Mm.
because when we go into
Change
that
too.
direction,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we see everybody as a sexual object, everyone.
Wow, that's interesting. Hmm.
So that had to change as well. And I would actually go with the pastor that helped me in Montreal, ask him to help me for that in order to show me how to see somebody as somebody and not as a
Mm.
sexual object.
Wow.
I have to change everything that I mean so much. I didn't even know where to start, obviously, but then I had to literally let go, and then
Of.
God put faith in me as
Uh-huh.
well, in order to carry on
Mm.
with Him. And
Yes.
I would spend nights and nights of prayers and crying and asking God, what's going
Mm.
on? What's going on? Obviously, you're
Mm,
calling me, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And I want to be
mm,
with you, but I don't know how to do it because I forgot all about the Bibles.
right.
I couldn't even know where Exodus
Mm,
was or Revelation. Um,
wow.
I was scared basically. So God put me, and I didn't know any Adventists in Canada, right?
Right.
So God showed me the way. He helped me to meet
Mm-hmm.
people from the church that was close by to my home in Montreal. And then
What church
I
was
got
that?
rebaptized and followed. It is
Mm,
in French. It's called Il est écrit, but it's
okay.
in English. It is written. It is written.
Oh, it is written in church. Okay.
So yeah,
Powerful.
it is written in church. And
Mm,
yeah, so I got rebaptized, and with the pastor that helped me there at the church, we started to do Bible studies as well.
mm-hmm.
So, but it's not over. It's not over because
I know, right?
it's been 30 years. It's been 30 years, and I have to be honest. Sometimes I do struggle with with uh,
Mm,
with that lifestyle because I had to let go of
mm-hmm.
friends, make new
Mm,
friends, and
right.
share my new life with the old friends because all my friends they're gay, right? So they would have to understand because they
Right.
see me going, they don't understand what's going on. They see me as weird,
Right.
different.
Mm,
Um,
right.
so yeah, until now it's still a struggle, but then I get to learn
Mm,
how to
mm-hmm.
communicate frequently with God, which I never
Mm,
did, right? So I get to
mm,
communicate with God
frequently.
frequent on a regular basis, frequently, and also to
Yeah.
I'll get to learn how to let go and not take
Mm,
control, always work toward take control.
right.
Just let go and
Mm-hmm.
let Jesus decide. And also
Yeah.
I get to learn how to listen to the Holy Spirit now. So
Amen to that.
it's all
Yeah.
a process. Yeah.
It is. It is a process indeed. And I mean, 25 years, that's a long time. So, I mean, God will continue to work on you as he does on all of us. So, I want to
Yeah.
ask you now, why do you think God designed that a romantic relationship or marriage should be between a man and a woman and not between a man and a man and a woman and a woman? Based on your experience, why do you think that God designed that it should be a man and a woman?
Well, at first it was Adam and Eve, and God needed
Hmm.
to fill the earth, right? So we can
Correct.
only
Yeah.
fill the earth by having babies, and we can only make babies with a man and a woman. Um,
Interesting.
I believe that, yeah, I believe that
Mm,
God also, should I say, as a woman, He has a woman, which is church,
hmm.
which I know now,
Correct.
which I didn't know before.
Mm,
um, I think that I'm not too familiar with this, but I think for God,
hmm.
male and female procreate, make babies, and make
Correct.
things grow. And in God
Hmm.
Himself, He created
They produce
male and
something.
female. So
Mm,
in God, yeah, in God there is male and female already because He created them, right? So that is also something
right.
that I discovered that I didn't know before.
Yeah, it's interesting. And just for context, maybe I can read that verse. It's really amazing. When you go back to Genesis
Mhm.
chapter, I believe it's chapter 1, verse 26. And it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over literally over everything." Now, verse 27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them." and then he tells them to be fruitful and multiply. So I mean, clearly, like you said, a man and a man cannot be fruitful, right, and multiply. So imagine if we said no to God's plan and we went man and man, women and women, all of us, that would mean in a few years, humanity would be extinguished because we wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
produce anything else. It would just be us. So, in a sense, it's a little bit, I guess, selfish, if you will. But I mean, based on the word, it's impossible to reproduce or to produce fruit. But that's a physical, practical understanding of it, and also the way God designed the body parts. Let's say it's meant for to be man and woman, not woman and women. Because if it's man and man, it leads to, abuse and all those things. And then another interesting aspect which you touched on is um, the image of God, that male and female together, they make complete the image of God, which takes us back to Genesis as well, where after God created Adam, he said, "It is not good for man to be alone," right? And then
Yeah, that's true.
after that, he creates Eve. I mean, God is wise. He could have created another Adam for him, right? But why did he create Eve? And there's many other reasons, but one reason that I'm really beginning to understand myself is the whole point of God creating us is so that we can reflect his image, which means his character, who he is, his personality. And when you think about God, he is, well, actually, let me do this exercise with you. um can you can you describe God, like his characteristics, let's say the
Well,
main five?
we all know that God is love, right? So this is the first thing that
Right.
we know of from God.
Love. Hmm.
And justice
He's just okay.
um, is just.
Hmm.
Um, God is merciful.
Merciful. Yes, he is merciful.
Um, then I would say patient because
Patient. Of course.
for all the things we do,
He is indeed.
uh, God is very patient.
He's been patient with us for all
Um,
these years.
for real, for real. Um, I would say I'm not sure if it's the same as merciful, but
Hmm.
compassion with compassion,
Yeah, he is compassionate. Okay. I mean, that's good
compassion.
enough. So when you look at the characteristics of God, he is all powerful. He is all knowing. He knows everything. He is all present. Those seems to be the most majestic, powerful character traits of God. Like he is strong, he's a lion, right? He is this
Mm-hmm.
big, gigantic God who controls the whole universe. And when you think of man in some aspect, a man shares those qualities of God that are strong, powerful, just, tough. So a man would represent the tough side of God, if you like. Whereas a woman
Mm-hmm.
reflects the soft aspect of God's character: compassion, mercy, patient, loving, caring. Not that men don't care, but that, God just put it there because God is not one sided. He is complete. And there are two elements coming together, which is his justice and his mercy. So the Bible says things like, mercy and truth have met together. Mercy and truth have met together. Justice and righteousness have kissed each other, because God is a combination of two great things balanced together. That's why we get the idea of law and grace. There's the 10 commandments that we must keep, but we couldn't keep
Mm-hmm.
them. But when we did, God did not kill us or destroy us. there was a plan of
Mhm.
salvation to save us. So you see God's grace
Mhm.
coming in. And we I mean, God could have easily created Adam, right? But he says it's not good for him to be alone. I believe when God said it's not good for Adam to be alone, he did not mean just when it comes to his physical aspects or the physical needs, right? He also meant
Mhm.
his spiritual needs, because it would be hard for Adam to understand who God is if he was just alone, because like how do you even relate to God? Like who is God? It would be so confusing. So God creates another partner, let's say, to help him understand who God is. The God is not only
Mhm.
just as he is, but he is also merciful. This is so important
Mhm.
when you think about the family, because in a real sense, the family also reflects God. You have a man,
Mhm.
a woman, and a child, the fruit we're talking
Mhm.
about. And in a very real
Mhm.
sense, that was to represent or reflect the Trinity, that that three triune God, let's say, where you have God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
And as we look at
Mhm.
our relationships on earth, the idea was that we may fully understand who God is. And and so when you look at the love a mother has for a child, it really tells you that there must be a God, because that doesn't happen by
Mhm.
chance. It is God who designed that to happen. And then it tells you of
Mhm.
how God also loves us, right? And then the love
Mhm.
between a man and a woman. It also shows that that cannot be by chance. There's a designer who is also in all of that looking for intimacy and looking for closeness with us. And that's why God uses the analogy of marriage in the Bible, that we are married,
Mhm.
that we are, in a sense, God's wife, which is interesting, right? And just another last point, you know, Enoch, right? Enoch, the person who walked with
Mhm.
God for many
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's Enoch, if I'm not mistaken. Either Enoch or, yeah, must be Enoch. When he had his first child, it led him closer to God. And
Yes.
even today, when a person has a child that's born into this world, it really, it's an experience that cannot be, it can't just happen without doing something to you as a father or as a mother. It really changes how you see the world, and it brings so much joy and so much meaning to life. So
Mhm.
that's really one of the reasons it's exhaustless, right? We can study this day and night, but God is wise. And it's better to follow God's will than to do our own things, because our own things will always lead to distraction. So here's a follow-up question. So what is the danger now of disregarding God's ideal and doing man and man, woman and woman as romantic relationship?
Well, it depends if you're a Christian or not,
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
because yeah, because I met a lot of non-Christian people who do
Mm,
not believe at all in God, and for them, they hold on to that image of men and men or women and women, um, and they're not happier, right? But
mm,
um, they keep holding on to it until, unfortunately, until they pass away. Because I have a lot of friends that passed away in Montreal. They were
mm,
gay. I spoke to them about Jesus, so I'm
mm.
happy because I was able to speak to him about Jesus before they passed away. But then
That's
for a
good. Yeah.
Christian, it's different because when you grow up like myself as a child,
Hmm.
in the Christianity,
Yeah.
um, God is using those instructions in order to show us and to open our eyes and see that you
Mm,
cannot, definitely not be happy by living such a
right.
life. And
Mm,
because it's not based on God's decision,
mm,
it's always breaking down. It's not strong. So
Right. Doesn't have a
anything could
strong
happen to
foundation.
anything could happen. That's right. The foundation is
Mm,
not strong, so anything could happen to it. And then
mm,
God is, in my case, God is showing you, open up your eyes and see. You see, it didn't work because it did not work because it
hmm
did not work because, and this is those all
mm.
because are in the Bible.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow. That's so true.
yeah.
So it's like it's not safe, it's not secure, it doesn't have a strong foundation. So a lot can happen.
No, yes, and a lot of time it's mostly sadness, depression. Nothing happens.
mm,
So the only
mm,
time we can get happy is when we're actually with that person and then we
hmm
share and everything. But because it's not based on God, this is
Yeah.
it doesn't last. It doesn't last because anything
Mm,
that's not with God doesn't last.
it's
It's always
temporal.
for a short time. Yeah, it's
That's so
temporary.
true. Wow.
So then it's going to look like a pleasure. It's going to look or
Mm,
sound like happiness,
but
but
it's
it's
not
not going
really
to
happiness.
last.
Mm,
No.
wow.
So, for instance, when I went, because I did try drugs as well, I did
Mm,
not just sex, but I did alcohol and
mm,
drugs and everything else. So
mm,
those sort of joy with people say, "Oh, I'm very happy because I feel
mm,
happy," but it doesn't last, and that is why we keep
mm.
going back into it in order to
Right.
feel that
Mm,
happiness.
mm,
But then when you realize that it's not the real happiness because the real happiness is in God,
hmm
then you don't well, in my case, I was able with the help of God to
Right.
to to quit
hmm
drugs, all of a sudden.
mm,
But then when you discover that those drugs, for example,
mm.
they do damage to your body,
Right.
the your thought are not the same, you're not seeing people the same way, and
Mm,
everything changes. Then God allows you to think
hmm
for a moment. Take a look around you and take a look where you're coming from and take a look who you are now and think about what you
mm,
want in the future. All those kind of
hmm
reflections and
Yeah.
things. So God allows us to think and then to
hmm
analyze and to decide whether we want to carry
True.
on or stop. And then He
Mm,
creates also opportunities for us to meet
mm,
people and realize that whether we're right or wrong where we
mm.
are, He
Right.
creates also opportunities for us to fail. And then
Mm.
when you fail,
Interesting.
when you
He
fail,
gives you both options,
it's
right?
hard. Yes, yes, it's hard when you fail.
It is. It is hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. So, like,
but
what's
then
your
yes,
Mm.
God is always there to help us come back up. Yeah,
He's always ready. I love God. He's always ready to rescue us. So that's powerful. And
yeah.
so, what's your advice to those who are struggling with sexual identity right now?
Um, of course, it is help.
Mm.
I don't know if I had the help when I was a teenager, how would it be? But
Mm.
then it's always good to be around people, and this is why love is really the key.
Important.
Um,
Mm.
love is the key because when you feel love, you can grow up.
Mm-hmm.
When you
True.
feel loved, you can share. When you feel loved,
Mm.
you can think. When you feel loved, you can
Mm.
speak. When you feel, you see,
Hmm.
so love is really the
That's
key.
powerful.
Yeah. So
Love.
because I was loved by my sister
Mm-hmm.
and she showed it to me,
Mm.
I could not hide from her that I was gay because I felt
Mm.
love.
Right.
So she would come to the nightclubs with me.
Mm.
She would come to the dance floor. She was the only woman,
Mm.
just men, but she would come with me because
That's
she loves me and I could feel that love. And because she's there with
mm.
me, She could have, she even went further. She even told me, it's your boyfriend, kiss him, go on. And I was like,
Interesting.
no. I said, no. You see, I couldn't even do it myself because she was there. So
Mm,
because you feel so much love, yourself,
mm,
you put you put boundaries. You say, okay, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna.
mm.
You start yourself putting boundaries and say, no, I can't do this. I can't do this because love
Right,
is
right.
so strong that
Mm,
it allows you to do those things, but then deep inside you feel like, oh no, no, I can't do that
mm,
because of love.
mm.
That's love coming from whoever it
Wow.
is. So really, the love is the key.
Love is the key. Love is the key. But then, as a person, let's say myself, I was struggling. What would be the advice? So, seek love, or how would I deal with it?
First of all, the first thing is to accept, which is the
Okay.
hardest. Is
Mm,
to accept because you are different, and like myself, I know I'm different. So if I keep
mm-hmm,
fighting against it,
mm-hmm,
it's gonna come back all the time, and because it's coming
mm,
back, I keep either
mm.
falling in depression, so it's always bad.
Right.
So falling into the action, and even more, go further into the action.
Mm-hmm,
Depression, meeting the wrong
mm,
people, all things come together.
mm,
So by meeting the wrong
mm.
people, we do the wrong things, we go to the
Right.
wrong places, and
Mm,
like I said, we go further. So in my case, I went
mm,
into drugs. So because we don't
mm-hmm.
want to accept it, but and that is something that also only God does, because I had to literally accept
Right.
that, okay, I am this way. What do
Mm-hmm,
I do? Do I carry on, or I need
mm,
help? Or then
mm.
this is when this is where the person has to realize that we do need help.
Right. Help for sure. I
Yeah,
like that.
we do need
Accepting
help
that you need
because by
help.
ourselves,
Mm,
yeah, by ourselves, it's not possible.
right. So true. That's powerful.
Because
And
I had
so, in your
to,
experience, hmm
mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I had to, I had also to go to, I had to YouTube, and also try to
Okay.
look at videos and see people who went through the same thing and listen to their testimony, and then
Mm.
they themselves also had to do the same. So it's really help. We need help from
You need help, yeah.
who's in the same situation. We could get help from family, um,
Mm.
but we need help. Help, and I mean help with people that's around you, but not
Right.
judgment.
That's so true.
Not judgment.
Right.
Love. And I would say that the church in
Mm.
Montreal, I really, really,
Mm-hmm.
really like this church because
Mm.
I got to the church.
Mm.
Um, they could hear me speak, they could see me, the way I was walking, the way I was dressing, but no one judges
Mm.
me from the church, not one person. And they
That's a powerful
welcome me.
testimony.
It's very, very
Mm.
important not to judge, and to help, to appreciate, and to
Mm.
show respect and love to that person. And you
Mm.
see,
Mm.
so much that right after the baptism, they offered me to do a concert
Mm-hmm.
at the church. So it's really,
Wow.
we all in the same boat. For myself, it's sexuality. For
Right.
someone else, is um,
It could be something
drugs,
else.
or for someone else, is it's lying, or stealing. We
Mm.
all in the same boat. So we really
Right.
need to find a way in order to stick together, to help each other,
Mm.
and not to judge.
Yes, that's so true. And I couldn't agree more because Jesus said the Son of Man did not come to condemn, but to save, right?
Yeah,
And so, even as his
yes.
followers,
Amen.
we should seek to save and not to judge and condemn. So, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Amen.
Now, what resources would you suggest our audience read or watch, let's say, to get a better understanding of God's purpose for sexuality, and if maybe they're going through struggles and all that.
You see, there's a video that helped me a lot last year because it's
Hmm.
very recent, right?
Yeah.
um, it's a ministry. It's a pastor in the United States now. He's now married and
Okay.
has kids.
Mm.
But if anyone wants that link, I can share them the link.
Okay, I'll put it in the
Um,
description
it's
then.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, they have a ministry, so it's four people. They all join together to do this ministry. So
Mm.
there are three men and one woman.
Okay.
Um, and they're traveling around and helping whoever needs help to go to face this issue.
Mm.
And then when I looked at their videos on YouTube, I
Mm.
really felt like it was myself because I
Mm.
mean, even one of them, they he used to smoke, which I never did, but
Mm.
the whole life was literally the same thing, going clubs to
Right.
clubs and men to men
Mm.
and men to men and there and up and down and side to side and nonstop.
Mm.
So we all live the
Yeah.
same thing. So when you look at those videos on YouTube and you listen to this testimony, you say, "Oh, I can relate
Mm.
myself to them." And then to
Right.
understand how they went through and how they had to literally speak to God as well, we understand, oh, so I have to speak to God then. Okay, so I will speak to God.
Mm.
And then it helps to, when you
Right.
listen to those testimonies on YouTube. Yeah.
Wow, powerful. Well, I'll make sure I put it in the description. And thank you so much, Jean Michel, for spending this time with us, sharing your testimony. I know that someone out there is inspired and helped by this testimony. And thank you guys for watching and following our discussion today. If you have any questions that you want to ask, things you want to clarify, you can actually directly contact Jean Michel. I'll put all his social media links in the description. He has a Facebook page and he also has a YouTube channel. He's doing an amazing job singing for God, which is what God has shown him to be his purpose. And so go out there, subscribe, like, and support his ministry and continue to pray for him. And let's continue to pray for one another because we cannot do this alone. And so until next time, where we'll be sharing another testimony, God bless you and may you continue to love and obey him and to love others as well. Bye for now.
Mhm.